to help us along. So we talked the first week about forgiveness. We got to get forgiveness right. And forgiveness is about tearing down walls. Unforgiveness, holding grudges, builds up walls. You got to tear them down in order to do some renovation. The second week, Kevin talked with us about choices and priorities. And we illustrated it with a roof. I don't know where our truss went to. It's somewhere around here. And the idea that you got to put the roof on in order to be able to then have choices inside the house, inside the relationship. And the third week, we talked about the electricity or the fire, sex. Got to get that right in our relationships. And you got to keep sex in the fireplace of marriage, because if it gets out of the fireplace, it will be destructive. And last week we talked about money, budgets, brick or silent. You got to handle money well. You got to stay out of debt, or your relationships are going to be in big trouble. Is basically what we talked about. Well, today we're talking about conflict, and I want you to think about the window here. That the idea is that through the window of conflict is where we get to see into the emotional side of a relationship. Did I get that right, Doc? You're going to meet Doc Baker here in a minute. We're going to have a great conversation today. And the idea is that if I don't do conflict well with Stephanie or in any of my other relationships, it's like taking that sledgehammer and smashing that window. And it creates problems. And it lets the weather in. And it starts to destroy what I've built. I was shocked, surprised to learn that you're going to hear us refer to a Dr. Gottman, researcher on relationships, and that he said the number one predictor of marital health, we're going to refer to marriage a lot, but this crosses over to all of our relationships so much. The number one predictor, Gottman said, of healthy marriages, and lasting marriages, was how a couple handled conflict. That kind of blew me away. But the more Doc Baker and I have talked, and the more research I've done and thinking about it, I'm like, wow, that's a good point. We got to do conflict well. We can't run from it. We have to walk into it. We also don't want to run toward it either. There's some people that love conflict. And there's some people that hate it, abhor it. Well, neither one of those extremes are good. We got to find that balance in the middle. Well, how many of you are familiar with Monty Python? All right. If you like dry British humor, you're going to love this video. If you don't, please hang with us. We're going to give you some illustration about conflict, what it is and what it isn't, and then we'll come up here and talk about it.